The day after Trump and his defense secretary announced that Iran's military had been neutralized, Iran launched a missile and drone barrage at the Prince Sultan Air Base in Saudi Arabia and destroyed a $270 million aircraft that the United States Air Force can barely afford to lose. The plane was an E-3 Sentry AWACS, an airborne warning and control system that can track up to 600 targets simultaneously from hundreds of kilometers away and relay that information in real time to every ship, aircraft, and command post in the theater. Its tail was completely severed. Unverified photographs showed it sitting on the tarmac, visibly destroyed, unflyable. Military analyst Cedric Layton described the strike as a serious blow to U.S. surveillance capabilities. The Pentagon said nothing publicly. The E-3 is not just expensive, it is irreplaceable in the short term. The U.S. Air Force had only 17 of them at the beginning of the year, fewer than the number of B-2 stealth bombers in service, and the fleet has been shrinking for over a decade, down from 32 aircraft in 2015. The planes are old, built on a Boeing 707 commercial airframe, and they are not being replaced at any meaningful rate. Losing one in combat is not a loss the U.S. can simply absorb and move on from. Defense expert Kelly Grico told Air and Space Forces magazine that the destruction of an E-3 creates significant coverage gaps in the air campaign, gaps in airspace deconfliction, targeting, and the ability to track the incoming drones and missiles that Iran has been firing at Israel and Gulf states every single day since February 28th. Heather Penny, a former F-16 pilot and director of studies at the Mitchell Institute for Aerospace Studies, went further, saying the loss was incredibly problematic given how crucial these aircraft are to everything the entire force needs for the battle space. Multiple KC-135 refueling tankers were also damaged in the same attack, adding to a growing toll of U.S. aircraft losses that the Wall Street Journal reported this week has now reached between $1.4 billion and $2.9 billion in the first 3 weeks of the conflict alone. That figure includes 3 FF-15E Strike Eagles shot down in a friendly fire incident by a Kuwaiti aircraft on March 2nd, a KC-135 that crashed over western Iraq on March 12, killing all 6 crew members. 5 more KC-135s damaged in a separate Iranian strike on Prince Sultan earlier in the month, 12 MQ-9 Reaper drones lost across the theater, and an F-35 stealth fighter that made an emergency landing on March 19th after what U.S. officials described as an incident under investigation, with Iran claiming its air defenses had hit it directly and the pilot reportedly suffering shrapnel wounds. That is the context in which Iran and Hezbollah coordinated their latest joint strike on Israel. And the coordination matters because it tells you something about the military relationship that has been developing between Tehran and its Lebanese proxy over the course of this war. Israel had been hitting Hezbollah hard since the conflict began, striking weapons depots, financial infrastructure, personnel, and leadership across Lebanon, including Hezbollah's head of intelligence who was killed in Beirut's southern suburbs. By late March, the IDF claimed it had killed at least 800 Hezbollah operatives, including hundreds from its elite Radwan force. And yet Hezbollah is still firing. 10 salvos of Iranian missiles targeted Israel in a single day on March 29th. Hezbollah simultaneously launched rockets at Haifa and the Galilee from southern Lebanon, while Israeli ground forces were operating across the Litani River. The head of Israel's Northern Command, Major General Rafi Milo, said the strikes were continuing and their intensity would increase. What is happening on the Lebanon front is a war within the war, and it has been escalating in ways that the original framing of Operation Epic Fury did not account for. Israel declared Hezbollah's entry into the conflict an official declaration of war on March 2nd, 2 days after the US-Israeli campaign against Iran began. Since then, Israel has conducted over 250 strikes across Lebanon, ordered evacuations in multiple border villages, deployed ground forces deeper into southern Lebanese territory, and announced plans for a security zone stretching to the Litani River that will not be relinquished until Hezbollah's threat to northern Israel is removed. Netanyahu said during a visit to the IDF's Northern Command in late March that Hezbollah was not the same Hezbollah and was now fighting for its very existence, while simultaneously acknowledging that it still has residual capability to launch rockets at US, which is the kind of statement that reveals more than it intends to. Hezbollah entered this war from a position of significant weakness, its military capabilities degraded by 2 years of Israeli strikes and targeted assassinations, its domestic position fragile, its alliance with the Lebanese state broken after the Lebanese government banned its military activities and declared Iran's ambassador persona non grata. Aklid analysts noted that pressure, rather than strength, had driven Hezbollah's decision to join the conflict, the symbolic obligation of the crown jewel of the Iran-led axis of resistance to act when Tehran itself was under direct attack. It still has around 25,000 missiles and 1,000 drones, according to estimates, but its freedom of movement south of the Litani River has been severely curtailed. So it is firing from further north, at Haifa, at the Galilee, at Israeli cities further from the border that its rockets could not previously reach with any reliability. Meanwhile, Israel itself is absorbing a pressure that is building in ways that are starting to show in the public data. 10 missile salvos in a single day on March 29th. Iranian ballistic missiles hitting Beersheba, a city that one resident described to the Times of Israel as sounding like a crazy explosion. A missile striking Tel Aviv, killing one person, while fragments from separately intercepted missiles rained down on Ramat Gan. Sirens across the Galilee from Hezbollah rockets. And inside the broader economic picture, the Israeli government simultaneously approved over 5 billion shekels in coalition funding for ultra-Orthodox institutions and West Bank settlements, while cutting 3% across other ministries to cover increased defense spending, a combination that the opposition has called obscene given that thousands of reservists have now been called up and the country is effectively at war on 2 fronts. The cumulative toll of the war at 31 days stood at nearly 2,000 Iranians killed, more than 19 Israelis, 13 US military personnel killed in combat, 25 killed across Gulf states, and over 1,100 dead in Lebanon. Iran had damaged over 120 historical sites, according to its own claims. Harana estimated that at least 15% of Iranian casualties were under the age of 18. Netanyahu told reporters that Israel was creating visible cracks in the terror regime in Tehran, and that instead of them surprising us, we are surprising them. Trump said talks were going very well. Iran denied any talks were underway and fired 10 missile salvos at Israel the same day. Vice President Vance said the war would continue a little while longer, which was the most accurate thing any senior American official said all week, and the least helpful. The E-3 Sentry sat destroyed on a tarmac in Saudi Arabia. The KC-135s were in repair bays. The coverage gaps in the American battle management network were real and documented. And somewhere over the Haifa Bay, a Hezbollah rocket launcher that had just fired a barrage at Israel was being tracked by an Israeli Air Force drone that would destroy it within minutes of the launch. The strikes continue, Major General Milo said. Their intensity will increase. On the evidence of the past 31 days, there is no reason to doubt him.